There is something you do constantly in your life without realizing it. You keep making predictions. You think if you wake up early, your day will be more productive. You wonder if studying more will improve your exam results. You calculate whether investing more money into something will increase your return. What you are really doing is this. You are trying to understand how one thing affects another. But you do it intuitively. What if you could do this in a systematic way? What if instead of relying on instinct you could rely on data? That is exactly what we are going to talk about today. Now imagine a simple story. You own a small coffee shop. Every day you write down how many coffees you sell. At the same time, you also record the temperature of that day. After a while, you have a table in your hands. One day you look at it and notice something. On colder days, sales go up. When the weather is cooler, people drink more coffee. On warmer days, sales go down. This is not surprising. But this is just an observation. The real question is this. If tomorrow the temperature is at a certain level, how many coffees will you sell? Now things change. Because you are no longer reading the past. You are trying to predict the future. Look at your data again. Each row is a day. Each day has two pieces of information. Temperature and sales. Now imagine placing this on a sheet as points. Each point represents a day. And you notice something. These points are not randomly scattered. They seem to follow a direction, as if they are trying to stay close to an invisible line. This is exactly where linear regression comes in. It says, let me draw a line through these points in such a way that the data is explained in the best possible way. But there is an important detail here. This line will not be perfect. And it does not need to be. Because real life is not perfect. Even on the same temperature, you do not sell the same number of coffees every day. Sometimes more people come, sometimes fewer. There is noise in the data. There is uncertainty. Linear regression accepts this. And it says, I will not find perfection. I will find what makes the most sense. Let's look closer. Why do we even want this line? Because this line tells us a story. It says, as temperature changes, sales tend to change in this way. So this line is not just a prediction tool. It is also an explanation tool. It explains the relationship between two things. Now we reach a deeper point. The real power of this model is not prediction. It is understanding. This is critical. Because most people think of linear regression as something that only predicts the future. But its real value is this. It tells you how much one variable influences another. Now go back to the coffee shop. Let's say the model tells you something like this. When the weather gets slightly colder, sales tend to increase. What does this mean? It means your business is connected to temperature. So what can you do with this information? You can prepare more stock on colder days. You can create campaigns on warmer days. So now you are not just predicting. You are making decisions. But there is an important problem. Not all data points lie exactly on the line. Some are above it. Some are below it. So there is a difference between what you predict and what actually happens. This difference is called error. And the goal of the model is this: to make these errors as small as possible. But pay attention. Not each individual error. The total error. So the model says, let me find a line that is, overall, the least wrong. There is a key mindset shift here. The model is not trying to be perfectly right. That is impossible. The model is trying to be the least wrong. And that is much more realistic. This is also how we make decisions in real life. We do not make decisions that are never wrong. We choose the ones that carry the least risk. Now expand this idea. This is not just about coffee. The same logic exists everywhere. Think about a student. Is there a relationship between the number of hours studied and the grade received? Think about a company. Is there a connection between advertising spending and sales? Think about a city. Is there a relationship between the size of a house and its price? All of these come down to the same question. How much does one thing affect another? Linear regression is the simplest answer to this question. But do not let the simplicity fool you. Because this simple idea forms the foundation of data science. Even more complex models are built on top of this idea. But this is not the whole story. Because life does not always behave like a straight line. Sometimes the relationship is more complex. Take working hard as an example. At first it helps a lot, but after a certain point, productivity drops. So the relationship is not straight. It is curved. And this is where linear regression starts to fail. But that does not make it useless. It only shows its limits. What you need to understand is this. Linear regression is a starting point. It is the first step to learning how to see data. When you look at something, you will no longer just see it. You will ask, is there a relationship here? If there is, how strong is it? And what can I predict using it? This is where your thinking begins to change. You start seeing the world differently. When you see data, you do not just see numbers. You see a story. You see a relationship. You see meaning. And maybe the most important thing is this. Linear regression does not just teach you a model. It teaches you a way of thinking. It shows you that things that look random may actually have structure. And that structure can be discovered. From now on, when you see data, you will say this. There is a hidden line here. Can I find it?